We just witnessed the end of an era of Nuggets basketball. Ever since winning the championship in 2023, the Nuggets have been seen as consistent contenders every season since. This was the deepest Nuggets team of the past 3 years since they had won that title. They had been steadily declining since winning it in 2023, but this was almost certainly the nail in the coffin of the team as it is currently constructed. A first-round exit for a team with genuine title aspirations entering the postseason means that shakeups are inevitable this offseason. For the Nuggets, the priority as a team still has to be maximizing Jokic's prime and keeping that window of contention open as long as they can. The only two untouchables on this team are Jokic and Jamal. Although Jamal had a down series, he was a first-time All-Star this season and has proven himself in the biggest moments this sport has to offer. Plus, that two-man game between him and Jokic is still the best in the league. Those two guys are not going anywhere. Anyone else on the team really should not be feeling safe. Although I think Aaron Gordon is a great fit for this team and playing with Jokic helps maximize his strengths. This is now the second postseason in a row where his injuries have seriously hindered the Nuggets' ability to compete. And he is only getting older and seemingly more injury prone, which doesn't totally match the timeline of a Denver team that is likely going to have to trend in a younger direction to find their way back to the top of the NBA landscape. Another big question for Denver is how they deal with Peyton Watson in free agency this offseason. It would be amazing for them if they could hang on to him, and the fact that he missed the playoffs may help them in that, as he didn't get a chance to raise his value to the rest of the league. But the Nuggets are already one of the highest payroll teams in the league, and they have made mistakes before when it comes to re-signing their players for too much money, so they may not be willing to shell out the money required to hang on to him if another team feels strongly enough about picking him up, which would be a big loss for them, but potentially one that they will deem a necessary evil if they want to get back to contending as soon as possible. The biggest question for the Nuggets heading into the offseason is one that has its roots not only in this series, but in this season as a whole. We obviously saw Denver go out with a whimper tonight. Minnesota executed just like they had in all of their wins and did their damage in the paint, while preventing the same thing on the defensive end with Gobert anchoring their defense. The Gobert-Jokic matchup was the most important of the series, and Gobert absolutely won it. Even in this Game 6 loss, Jokic had a great game, but he never ascended to the otherworldly level that we're so used to seeing him at, and Rudy is the primary reason for that. The Wolves had to find offense in unexpected places tonight with another hit to their health, coming with Ayo Dosunmu out for the game, but Terrence Shannon Jr. filled his starter role and made some big-time plays on the way to the win, although it was Jaden McDaniels who really took over with a monster game exactly when Minnesota needed it. The Nuggets never found an answer for the Wolves' offense, and they couldn't get their own going consistently either. Jamal was uncharacteristically quiet this series, and had he shown up in Game 6, we might be looking at a Game 7 back in Denver. That does lead me back to the biggest question of the offseason for the Nuggets, that being whether they hold on to Coach David Adelman, or if they do fire him, try to bring in someone else, as sparse as the coaching free market is looking at this point in time. Adelman simply does not seem like he has the goods to be able to inspire this Nuggets team to play with the energy and the intensity that they need to. The Nuggets got killed on the margins, with Minnesota taking 19 more shots and having 13 more O boards. It is an unforgivable offense for Denver, and even though a large part of that is due to injuries of their own, with no Aaron Gordon or Peyton Watson, they still just cannot be getting blown out in any statistic as important as that while hoping to win the game. Obviously, a lot of it comes down to the players, but at the end of the day, it is up to the coach to motivate his players and to really instill in them that drive to succeed and that motivation that they need to pull out a win. David Adelman has been on the Nuggets coaching staff for a very long time, and so that may earn him a second chance. But the decision to fire Michael Malone is looking a whole lot worse after the first full season without him at the helm also coincided with Denver's earliest elimination in a number of years. The tough part about it is that it does seem that Adelman seems to have the confidence and respect of his players for the most part, but he simply has not been able to inspire them to play at the level that they needed to. It doesn't seem like he was willing to make the adjustments needed to pull out the win. He really had no answers for Minnesota's offense. And although the players didn't either, at the end of the day, again, it does come down to the coach to be the one making those adjustments, and he just utterly failed to do that. The big issue for the Nuggets, if they were looking to move on from him, is there's not a ton of qualified head coaching candidates currently on the market, which would make the decision to move on an even riskier one than giving him the job in the first place. I do think for that reason that he will be back for next season, unless the Nuggets are looking to go after a coach like Billy Donovan. There really isn't any other options for them, and I do believe that this Nuggets core could have done well in the postseason at full strength, but there is never any guarantee of that, and they do undoubtedly need to make some changes to the roster this offseason, as well as perhaps the coaching staff. I want to end this video by just briefly looking ahead to the Wolves-Spurs series. I do think that the Wolves are dead on arrival against the Spurs. I know that they are a gritty team that's found their way to the conference finals these past 2 seasons, but this just is not a fair matchup with all of their injuries. I think Wemby might eradicate all the respect and goodwill Gobert earned from this series just after the first game alone. I don't think the Wolves take even a single game, which may be foolish to say, but San Antonio has looked elite in their past 2 games. I do think they just keep that rolling with a pretty easy sweep of the Wolves. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate a subscription and a comment below it to let me know what you think the Nuggets should do this offseason and whether or not the Wolves have a chance of taking on the Spurs. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll be back tomorrow.
Eliminating the Denver Nuggets in 6 games. Final score 110.